Box score, baseball prospectus. Wrigleyville and 670 to score. He has interest in many analytical facets of baseball. His primary interest is trends and their internal and external influences. We'll talk about Major League attendance trends. Please welcome Scott.
To present today. As David mentioned, I've written for a couple of sites. I've written for Beyond the Box Score. I've written for Baseball Prospectus and Wrigleyville. I have attended to write from an analytical perspective. What I'm trying to do more than anything else again is I'm trying my hardest to tell the story. I may use data to tell that story. I may use visualizations to tell that story. But if I'm not telling the story, if I'm not making a clear point, I'm not wasting your time as well as mine. I don't mind wasting my time. I really hate wasting yours. So one of the things, I was asked a long time ago by somebody, this would have been in the 2010 season, the White Sox that year had a run where they went 25-5. And so someone said, hey, when was the last time a team has won 25 out of 30 games? And my answer was, I didn't know, because I hadn't grabbed that data at that point. So I figured, well, there's got to be a way I can get that. I was able to get it. It only took me about a month or so to grab that data. So I gave him the answer about a month after he asked, which was a little bit late because by that point on the science thought I'd make it anyway. But in the process of doing that, I realized I had also picked up, I ended up grabbing every Major League Baseball game ever played. So you're talking roughly 470,000. I noticed I had picked up the attendance going back to about 1920. I'd also picked up game length going back to about 1920. And I thought, well, shoot, if I've got this kind of data, I might as well at least see if it can tell me something. And so I started putting stuff together. When I started writing, I started blogging myself like in 2012. I got nowhere, nobody was reading it. I got smart in 2013 though. In 2013, I decided I was going to marshal my Twitter army of 32 followers, and I was going to create an audience of people that were going to follow me to the break. So I took my 32 followers and said, you are going to be the basis of the next storm of baseball. Well, it actually worked. So I was still getting 15, 20 hits a day on my feed. So I read that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Reddit. And I'm going to post my stuff to Reddit, which you're not supposed to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I started with this thing, I posted it to Reddit, it got 1,000 hits, the first comment being from SABR saying, please write more of this stuff. It got my attention. So from there, I figured, okay, from there, onward and upward. I kept on writing just to get my craft down, trying to figure out what was interesting, what people thought was interesting, figure out the graphics and everything like that. I started writing for Beyond the Box Score, started getting a little more, I won't say professional because I wasn't paid to do it, but a cleaner look. So when I wrote this for Beyond the Box Score, that was the most read piece for the entire year 2014. So I figured, you know what? I think I might have stumbled onto something. I might have found something people were interested in. So with that brief, well, not so brief preamble, let me tell you, all the data comes from Baseball Reference. And Baseball Reference gets all their data on the retro sheet, which is the spine upon which almost all baseball data is built. Anytime you see somebody who works with retro sheet, thank them for the work they've done. It makes the work that people like myself and Chris do so much easier when you can just go there and grab it, as opposed to somebody who actually spent hours, days, months, years with old musty newspapers writing down this information. So I can put it up here and make it look like I'm smart.
Old school.
I use Tableau software to manipulate some of this data. Most people don't care about that. If you want to see the data visualization upon which most of these slides are going to be based, you can find it there. Going back to 1871, data going back here is relatively spotty. It's very hit or miss. If you were to actually go on to the Tableau's software, the page, you'll see for each year, I will show you the number of games that are involved. That is the number of games that were played in the 2015 season, 2004-29. You'll see these are like maybe 10, 20, 30 games. So if you see plotted on this axis is total attendance, which is negligible. And here, this is the average attendance. So you're seeing here, 15,000 in average attendance, that's probably for one team, realistically. It wasn't until about 1920 that the data starts getting a little bit more filled in, and even there's still gaps. It's right around 1950 where you start getting a more complete record. By the time you get to 1950, you have about 80% of the box scores that have actually been digitized and turned in and broken down into play-by-play data. You see some general trends. You see things are kind of slow. They build up a little bit in the 20s with the lively ball with Babe Ruth, with the advent of radio and a little bit more advertising of the game. You see how the obvious trend during the Great Depression. You see a little bit of an uptick in World War II, and then especially after World War II. You'll see in the 50s it starts to die again. Then you start seeing a slow, gradual rise. Some of this is built by expansion. Some of this is built by the baby boom generation getting aging into the prime baseball watching years. Then you'll see almost what appears to be an explosion that coincides with the general, basically the aging of people like me. I'm at the tail end of the baby boom. So I would have been entering my prime baseball watching years right around here. We had a general economic expansion in the United States that ran from around 1982 to 2007. I've written about this 3 different times. And say, hey, what's the state of baseball? And guess what? I come up with 3 different answers every year. So this is just the general trend. But that's not where we stop. That's where I start. So let's break it down by the 3 clubs that we're talking about here in this group. We're going to start with the clubs. They are my team. They are the team I started watching on WGN on Sundays in Davenport, Iowa. So I could watch Ernie Banks, Ron Samuel, Billy Williams, and Kirby Jacobs, and I could watch them not win playoff games. It was truly a joy. Now, as you look at this chart, bars that are in red, those are years they made the playoffs. So I don't distinguish between playoffs and World Series. In the Cubs case, it's pretty easy. There's no World Series after this bar anyway. So you look at basic Cubs attendance, not too bad in the 20s, around 20,000 or so. Obviously, we've got some gaps in the data here. Same general pattern. By the time you get to the 50s and the early 60s, you've got some pretty egregious teams being put out there. You've got a ballpark that is not really in the best part of town at that point. I read that in big hair plastic grass. Wrigleyville is not the Wrigleyville that it is today. You see an uptick in the late 60s and 70s when they got good for a brief period. It goes back down. This is 1984. That was the year I first moved to Chicago. I picked the wrong year to try to go to a Cubs game. Their attendance went from here to here in the space of a year. But even so, a playoff year, a year when the Cubs win the playoffs for the first time in 40 years, they're still only averaging about 25,000 people a game. And then you'll see the gradual rise. I want you to remember this part right here. I'm going to come back to it. This is the peak. This is essentially full capacity for Wrigley Field, just over 40,000 people, and you can see the decline afterward until the glorious year of 2015. This is just for fun. Every now and then I play a mental exercise where I want to turn baseball into a 140-game season instead of 162. So to do that, I would probably institute doubleheaders again on Sunday. I would probably eliminate Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday games, and I'd probably also downsize 16. But I've never really taken that all the way through. But you can see, there's a real shocker. You know, attendance is much better on the weekends than it is during the week. But even here in 2015, the weekday attendance is pretty strong. This is where I had a conceptual breakthrough earlier this year. When I try to present data, what I'm trying my very hardest to do is to get on one picture something that makes sense. Occasionally, I even succeeded in doing that. And so what I did was I had always plotted capacity, and I got these capacities from Steve Heads. And so I had always plotted capacity against attendance, but I never been able to get it to line up cleanly. And so here, you can actually see we're in essentially half-filled stadium at best for, come on, we're talking close to 60 years now. Now, all of a sudden starts getting filled, and now you start seeing So you start seeing some holes right there. And this hole is what I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about. 2008 attendance, like I said, 40,000 and change. That was the last year they made the playoffs. By the time 2013 rolled around, they were down to 32,000 in attendance. I kept on hearing on sports talk radio, oh, the Cubs fill out, they just sell out every day. Well, not by 2013 they did. Now they're down to 32,000. They're down 8,000 a game. Do the math. No, don't wait. I did it for you. So, assume the average fan spends $50 a day at a game. That's just a number I threw out.
Thank you.
That means they're losing about over $30 million a year in lost revenue from this number to this number. Over a 5-year span, that'd be about $165 million. If you want to look at $100 a fan, which is probably on the high side, but you never know, now you're looking at $300 million. So what you say? April 1st, 2014, Tom Ricketts says, I'm looking for a minority investor. I'm looking for a minority investor who's willing to put in around $300 million. What a coincidence. Where do these numbers come from? And so I saw that, and so I sent an email to a reporter, and I asked a couple questions, and that reporter essentially said I was right in my assumptions. And that if you think about what the Ricketts did, when the Ricketts bought the Cubs in 2009, Tom Ricketts sold it as a cash cow. Hey, we'll always have this money. Well, when you start having revenue holes of $300 million, you got to find it someplace else. White Sox, slightly different story here. And I'll show you color for some White Sox attendance in a little bit. 1920, that was a pretty good year up until about October. Then things didn't go so well. I mean, in 1920, you're coming off a World Series. You've got a team that was playing pretty well. They were competitive until the very end of the season. And then, obviously, the scandal hit, and they took a big, huge attendance hit. I mean, they lost a big 25-30% of their attendance just right there. They would occasionally come back. But you've got a long drought here of not making the playoffs. They make the World Series in 1959. That gives a halo effect in 1960, and then they kind of lose it almost immediately. This becomes a recurrent trend for the White Sox. I don't have any answer for it. All I know is that people do respond to winning. They won in 83, people showed up. They came out in 84, and they disappeared almost as quickly afterward. They won in 93, part of that wasn't their fault. Got the strike next year that they probably would have made the playoffs that next year if the strike hadn't occurred anyway. And so you see the drop off there. They won in 2000, they dropped off, they won in they see even here after winning the World Series, you had a very nice peak, and yet it continues to go on down. And granted, when you're playing, under 500 ball for 2 or 3 seasons, you're going to find, other than about 5 or 6 teams in baseball, fans are going to respond in a negative way. They're just going to stop showing up. Their attendance 5 days. Yeah. Not bad, but still. I mean, there were some beautiful Sundays. I'd watch a Sox game when the Cubs wouldn't be on for whatever reason, or maybe it was a night game. And I would see half-filled U.S. Cellular on a beautiful day. And I'm thinking, you can park there. The food there is wonderful. The price is cheap. You can pick up tickets on the secondary market for next to nothing. And yet, they were lucky to get maybe 25,000 in the stands. I don't pretend to understand why. This is their percent of capacity. Old Comiskey was a big old park. I was never in there. I assumed it was pretty roomy, and I assumed that was probably not a very fun place to put in 8,000 people a game and you got room for 50,000. That sounds like the old Cleveland Stadium, where they had a stadium for like 70,000 people and they bring in like 8,000. That's like, well, it's got to be like the game that the Sox played against Baltimore last year where there were 0 people in the stadium. But here at least there was some. But you can see, for the most part, they're not reaching their capacity. They come close to a couple of years. Generally speaking, you know, they're only, you know, for last year, they only were just over half their capacity. The Milwaukee Brewers. Started out as the Seattle Pilots in 1969, didn't draw that many people. Decided, let's go to the friendlier shores of Milwaukee and we'll get an attendance club. Most of you are eating right now. Do not get your phones out and look at the 1970 lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm telling you, do not do that. You will get sick. They had Tommy Harper on that team. Other than that, woo! I mean, I'm going through Central box still play by play. I'm looking at these names. I'm going, who? What? Huh? So, bad team. That's the expansion team. By the time you get to the playoff teams in the 80s, you can see there's a nice increase. I lived in Wisconsin from 1985 to 1988, subscribed to the Milwaukee Sentinel, got a journal on Sundays. So I would read, it was, what season was it they won 13 in a row? 87? You know, so that's why I kept on reading that George led the buyout, everybody in Hamburg, who win 13 games in a row. So you see, there's very much responsiveness there. You can see the clear opening in Miller Park right here. And you can see how they responded very well. What I really like here, you're going to see this again in a second. They actually, so we're looking at 33,000 in a park that seats about 40,000. And they, for the most part, maintained it. Miller Park is a wonderful park. My daughter went to school a couple of 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. We went to a couple of Brewers games. I mean, I had a blast there. I sat in the lower level off the right field, and I sat in the 500 level. I love those teams, they were great. Paid $12 the second time, and I walked out with a 20-plus bottle at the booth. So, that was a great day. Their attendance by day. My daughter still will have, I did, it's the Brewers schedule out yet with the bobbleheads and that. Okay, so she will know what bobbleheads will win, and she will probably be going on those days. She goes for the bobblehead days. But, you know, your typical same pattern. You show up on the weekends, and weekdays, it's going to be a little bit less. Now, the percentage capacity, like I was saying before, not too shabby. Filling 75% of the building. You can't really do much better than that. I mean, at that point, you're almost at peak capacity. You're going to have parking issues. Although we went to a game in 2011, July 31st. It was a sellout, 40,000 people. We left where we were going, and I said, man, it's going to take us forever to park. And it took us 20 minutes to get in and 10 minutes to get out. It was sweet. I mean, I was like, oh, I like this place a lot. You know, now that I know I can park here, it's great. I've been glossing over this. And I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. But you can really only get people to show up if they live in the area. I heard Crane Kenny say a long time ago that 40% of Cubs fans are from out of town. I want you to think about the ramifications of that. In a 40,000 person stadium, that means about 15,000 are coming from out of town. If you can get 50 on a bus, that means there's going to be 300 buses outside of Wrigley Field for every game. I don't think there's 300 buses. There's a lot, but I don't think there's 300. You can't draw very well outside of your major metropolitan area. And so what I grabbed on here was how well teams actually did with regard to their major metro area. Hey, look who's on top. This is the Milwaukee Brewers. They drew over 160% of the metropolitan area. I think I have a metro population here about 1.8 million, give or take. Brewers pulled in about 2.5 million. I think that's great. That's followed by the Royals, followed by the best fans in baseball. And you'll see this is basically skewed towards smaller markets because, you know, they're going to have a smaller denominator. You look down at the bottom, you're going to see the New Yorks and the Chicagos and that. But I think this is a testament to the Brewers fans that we've been seeing in the attendance really since 2008. When Ned Yost took you, well, almost independent until he got fired. But, you know, when the people, they're still there. It's still a good team to watch. It's still fun to watch.
What about the roof?
Pardon?
What about the roof? Doesn't that play into that? You think that push up the roof?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's the numbers, right?
it has to be. I mean, Sox game where